campers! Huh. It's me, Camp Counselor Alex Ramirez. Oh man, we've had such a great day today doing great camp activities like hiking, inner tubing, showing Camp Counselor Alex pictures of your mommies. Oh, wow, it's been terrific, hasn't it? Now comes my favorite part of the activities, story time. So everyone, come gather around near this very real campfire that's clearly not filmed on a poorly lit green screen in my room. It's real. Look at, oh, my hand's on fire. Oh, jeez. We're gonna go to the hospital. Speaking of hospitals, let's talk about the time I accidentally cut my sister's finger off.
You get whacking and whacking and whacking. You get whacking, chopping at me.
This is my sister Amy. She's 24 years old and makes better life decisions than me. As kids, we used to go spend our summers with our grandma. My grandma lived in a mobile home surrounded by a giant rock field, so there wasn't much to do other than smash rocks and watch TV. If we did get bored, there was one fun thing we could do. All the radical kids know what I'm talking about. Rollerblading down your grandma's sick-ass driveway! One fateful afternoon, Amy and I had the gall to ask my grandpa if we can go rollerblade outside. And he agreed, on the condition that we didn't come back in for at least an hour. A little more about my grandma's mobile home. There was a nice little metal gate that surrounded the place, which defeats the purpose of it being a mobile home, but anyways, this thing must have been forged in Satan's steel mill back in the 1920s because children's safety was definitely never considered when making it. The gate on this fence was spring-loaded, and that thing snapped closed with the wrath of 1,000 pissed-off snapping turtles. What I'm saying is this thing was bad news. But Amy and I weren't fazed by that gate because we'd successfully navigated that thing like dozens of times to go rollerblading. So we strapped on our sick-ass inlines, and I challenged her to a race down the driveway. Without a thought, I took off with the speed of a rollerblading Usain Bolt. I took off, snapped open the gate, let it swing behind me, and jetted down that driveway. When I let it slam behind me, Amy had instinctively reached out her hand to try to stop it. And where did her hand land? In the mouth of the locking mechanism. I was too far ahead to see what happened, but I do know Amy didn't scream immediately. She just stood there for a moment, raised her hand, and saw her pinky finger dangling by a sliver of skin. Then she screamed. When I finally noticed she hadn't gone down the hill, I went back up to check on her, and I saw a trail of blood. And I was like, WTF, Amy, aren't you too young to be getting your period? Curious, I followed the trail to discover a scene straight from a low-budget indie horror movie. The sliding glass door we'd come out was smeared in blood. You see, Amy and I hadn't even been out for an hour. At the very least, we'd been out for about 5 minutes. Because of this, my grandpa had refused to let Amy in. But Amy, being the strong, independent woman she was, just continued banging on that door with her bloodied hand until she got my grandfather's attention. Finally, my grandpa got sick and tired of all the noise and finally got up to see what was happening. And when he saw Amy, he didn't really react. From what Amy told me, he just took her into the house, made a makeshift hand wrap to secure her finger, and finally just loaded her into his van. Huh! An old man loading a bloodied young child into a van. A good thing for once. Around this time, he finally found me and said, I guess we're going to the hospital today, nonchalantly, and then we left. My grandpa was a Vietnam vet, so I guess the sight of a horrifically injured child just wasn't a new sight for him. As a kid, when bad things happen to you, or someone you know, you don't really process it right away. While Amy sat in the car, passed out from the pain and presumably blood loss, I distinctly remember just sitting there being really bored, while Michael Jackson's Thriller just played in the background like... After a while, we finally got to the hospital and turned Amy over to the doctors. Let me tell you, modern medicine is incredible. Through the amazing process of skin grafting, they managed to take the skin off of her ass cheek and use it to reattach her finger, thus giving her a fully functional ass finger. After many weeks of being wrapped up, her finger fully healed, and today it's fully functional. Here's a photo of her fucked up finger. And yeah, kids, her finger was just fine. And I'm not a horrible brother because she's still alive. So, technically, I didn't do anything wrong. So, kids, what's the moral of this story? That's right! You can pretty much do anything to your siblings and the doctor will just fix them. So just do whatever the fuck you want. Who cares?